Welcome, everyone. I am excited to see you here. The numbers are still rising. We did have about 48 last night that had signed up for this training. It is the training of choice right now. Procurement. Oh my God, how long have I been waiting for this training with Andy and Andy's group? So excited to have him and his team. We have Krish, we have Sanjay, and we have Sharon here with us to assist him in this training. We do have only an hour, so I'm not going to talk any further. For those of you who may not get it this first time around, do not fear. There are other days that we will be providing procurement training under this series of courses this month, but we're going to repeat a similar schedule next month as well. So stay tuned because there's more to come. So with that, I am happy to introduce to some of you and present to the rest of you who know him quite well, none other than our SAP IT manager, who I have worked with now, oh my goodness, it's going on at least 15, 16 years. His name is Andy Durand, and I'm going to turn over everything to him. Andy, go for it.
Thank you, Cottrell. Thank you, everybody, for attending this training. This training is a procurement trainer for intermediate users. So like Cottrell reported, we have various classes scheduled throughout the year. Some will be intermediate, some advanced, and some beginning. We've had quite a bit of turnover, I know, to SERP and things like that. So we're trying to put on these courses to try and get everybody back up to speed and get everybody's knowledge at the best level that we can. So this time I'd like to introduce some of my team. I'm going to ask them to a few comments about themselves. We have 3 of us on the team who work with procurement. One person is not available today. I'm going to start this off with my lead, Sanjay. You want to go ahead?
Hello, welcome everyone. This is Sanjay Kulkarni. I am a team lead for finance and procurement. And our team, I'm working with Sharon and Krish. We are here to help you. If you have any questions, any doubts, any concerns, we'll be happy to answer any of them.
All right, go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, this is Sharon, and like Sanjay said, we handle finance and procurement. So you have any question, you can always send it to us, or you can call us. I think our contact will be in the presentation at the end of the slides. And you are always welcome, and anytime we will try our best to answer your question. Thank you.
And we have Krish.
Hi, this is Krish. In the procurement team, like again, as my previous speakers have mentioned, like this is a start of the training. Like you'll be having a lot of questions, and we are there to help you guys out. Anytime you can reach us out on the emails, which is going to be there in the end. Welcome to the training.
All right, thank you, everybody. So we're begin the training. So again, this is intermediate. So intermediate is relying that people have procured before. They've used the screens, they know the GUI, they know the portal. We're going to do a little bit of a refresh just to catch everyone up, but mainly it's focusing on people who have done procurement before, and now they're getting into accounts and WBS elements and things like that. So that's what intermediate is referring to. There is an advanced one where we talk about more about asset management and asset procurement. What is an asset? What needs to be, goods receipted? What doesn't? That's in the advanced class, because we'll focus just on assets. So it's a recap in the earlier class. So the earlier class just goes over beginning users. So in that class, we go over to the transactions. We go over how to get access to procurement. We talk about emails for approvers. How does that get generated? We talk about the structure of how the purchase order and procurement is arranged and designed. And we talk about the transaction codes that are used to procure, and the different types of documents that are used to procure. So in this agenda, we're talking about the purchase requisitions with multiple account assignments. We're talking about requests for contracts with multiple funding sources for single expense. We're going to talk about creating purchase orders that are less than 5,000 with multiple accounting documents and funding sources, and short-term agreements, which are less than or equal to 50,000. And then we have a question and answer at the end of the session for you. We're actually going to do some presentation, and we're going to do some online actual creation of some of these topics that I discussed here today. So you can actually see it work in a live environment, but it's actually our test. So here's the main structure for procurement management inside the district related to this intermediate topic. So we know we create purchase requisitions. We kind of know 5,000 is usually the general rule for assets or non-assets, but there's also other rules related to what requires approval or not approval at a college, and does it get created as a purchase order or a purchase requisition based on the dollar amount. So that's what this document is showing you. We have something in SAP called a release strategy, but it's actually an approval process. It's actually an audited approval process that's used to move documents and move approvals throughout the organization. So it's very detailed, it's very structured, and it's designed that way on purpose, Manny, for audit purposes to make sure we're procuring with the proper approvals and things like that. So that's what this document is kind of showing. And it's broken out between regional, as you know, and college approvals. And of course, we have district office approval strategy as well. All those are a little bit different. They're not exactly the same. And we have many, many approval strategies, hundreds of them in the district, based on departments, based on groups, based on colleges, and based on locations. So that's what this second line is showing you. It says release approval. And then, of course, we all know that we convert a purchase requisition to a PO. And we're going to go over that. So a purchase requisition is not a legal agreement to procure services or materials. It's a request. The only real legal agreement we have is called a purchase order. Anything below a purchase order is not a legal document that you would normally send to a vendor to say, I'm buying something. It's only an internal document saying we agree to proceed with this one. We have the proper approvals. And then someone, whether it's the college, the district, or in procurement, or in both, or all three, are the ones who have the authority to convert that to an actual purchase order and a legal agreement. And that's what the third one is showing you here. And you're seeing the release approval here in the third column, the second tab down from the second column. And then, of course, we all know currently we print purchase orders. We are looking at doing digital and more electronic type of thing. We're working on that one. Excuse me, that should be ready soon. And then, of course, everyone knows that we do goods receipts. So in the district, we do something called a three-way match. Not every organization does that. Some organizations have a combination of what would call be a financial transaction. They call it a two-way match, which means you have the order and then you have an approval, and the other one has all three, which is us. So we have an order, we have an approval, and then we have a document. And in order for us to pay on most of these things, that all three have to have a check mark next to them. Otherwise, we will not pay and we will not process with all three being, checked off. So we have a goods receipt. And we're going to talk about goods receipts in various of these topics because it's an item has to do with assets and has an item has to do with processing. And of course, we have something called for accounts payable invoice verification, which is another process that we check to make sure all three are done. And then, of course, we have the invoice to actually include the payment. And we have a payment run program that runs periodically. It fits with our accounts payable group. They have the capability to generate these things, but some of it's also automatic as well. So that's the full, on a very high level of procurement process at the district of how it basically runs. Within these, there are various variations of these. Like I said, we have hundreds of these, 700, 900 of these release strategies that are happening through the district. But generally, they fall within this high level summary. But within itself, there are many variations to it.
Andy, before you go a little bit further, there is a question as to whether or not we will be able to have a copy of this PowerPoint so that we can follow back on our own and work out some of the details that you are providing us today. Very good info.
Yeah, very good question. The answer is yes. As soon as the meeting's over, this will go out to Katrelia, and then she will distribute it out to the attendees today. All right, so here's if you're doing procurement, then you know there are certain codes we have to use. And these codes are structured based on our strategy, what was in the other document of how we approve. So we know we have plant is a key code. If you don't put in the plant, then of course it doesn't really pick up the addressing. It doesn't pick up any accounting rules. A lot of people have this because their accounting rules are different between different organizations. And so that plant contains structure in it as far as not only location, but accounting structures are attached to them. And of course, we have material group for reporting purposes. We normally use non-catalog here, although we're looking at catalog items as we speak. And of course, we have vendors that we use for reporting purposes. We have SLID vendors, and we have different types of codes depending on how we want to procure or don't want to procure. And of course, we all have a GL account for our general books for accounting purposes that we need to use. We like to use the right ones. So when we report on our status and our accounting features, that it's reporting correctly. And of course, we have purchasing groups that tell us the different type of areas that this RFC or procurement order belongs to. And then of course, we do require that you put in a requester's name and phone number, and that's called cost center, which is sometimes linked to fund center. Most the non-public companies don't have a concept called fund center. They only have a concept called cost center. But because we were having both, then it's called cost center. And then of course, specially funded programs have a different type of accounting structure attached to it when you do procurement. And the biggest thing is the WBS element, as opposed to the accounts. You have different accounts, but you also have something called a work breakdown structure, which is an accounting element that you use when you do specially funded programs. So their dollars assigned within these WBS elements. And of course, you have the standard GL account, and you have the purchasing groups, and you have the requester name. And then you have another item attached, the third one. They're basically the same, except it deviates here, where you have an asset number. So that asset number that you do procurement is tied to accounting, and accounting is tied to our general ledger, and our general ledger is tied to our depreciation methods, of which there are, I think we use one here, but some companies use different ones, different types, some of your digits and things like that on their accounting side. But so when you get to here, then it's going to start asking you need to start generating the asset numbers, which fall into an asset class, and that asset class falls into a structure around the depreciation methods that the district uses for those items. But that all comes from procurement. Otherwise, if you look at these, they're very similar, except they deviate in here, they deviate in here, and they deviate in here. And each one gets a little bit more complex as the business rules get a little bit more complex in terms of the type of accounting we want to do in these three specific areas, which would be cost center, SFP, and asset. Most of yours will fall under cost center. And then the next probably level would be asset, and the third would probably be the specially funded programs or the grants. So now we're going to begin to jump into some of the screens. I'm going to ask Sanjay and his team to now jump in. But there are various transaction codes that we want to go over and to show you how to create these types of documents. But before we begin, do we have any questions about the groundwork before we actually execute some of these in this presentation? Okay, Sanjay, Sharon, and Krish.
Okay, I will begin for talking about how we create a PR. So when you log on the SAP, on the SAP EasySS, you can either put on the code there, or you can go to add it to the favorite. We'll show you later. We just, do the presentation now. So when you enter the ME51N, then it will, when you hit enter, the screen will come up. So Andy had mentioned about the account assignment category, which is the C as a cost center, S as the specially funded program, and sometimes you might get some free goods. For example, if you get the computer, like a desktop, they might come with the bundle, which is like a monitor and a keyboard, which is already in your bundle of the main item. Then that will come as a free good. We'll show you later, but this is the main thing that Andy had mentioned, the account category, account assignment category. And then here is the material group. We have a non-category item, we have category item, and we have many others, different type. But for purchasing, usually we use as a non-category item because it is a tangible item. And then Andy also mentioned about the GL account, the WBS, and the requester. When we do the item detail, the only thing you need is either the cost center or the WBS and the GL account, then the requester and the phone number. The commitment, the fund center, and the fund will derive whatever the cost object that you enter. And Andy had mentioned we have the fund center. Actually, the fund center and the cost center or WBS, we mapped it, is all the same. So when you enter the cost center, when it will derive as the fund center is all the same. Okay, now, so once you entered all the cost object, now we have to enter the purchasing group. For the purchasing requisition level, the purchasing group we have to enter for each line. So you see is it in the line item level. So you enter for each one. And remember, we cannot make different purchasing group in one purchasing requisition. The reason is Andy mentioned we have 700 or 900 release strategy. The release strategy driven by the purchasing group, the cost object, and all the GL account. Therefore, if you mix it, you will not get the release strategy. Once you don't have the proper release strategy, this document will not go anywhere because it was not released or approved. So once you enter all the necessary information, make sure you click on this check button. When you click on this check button, you will see the release strategy, who's gonna be the first approver, second approver, and the third one, and whoever is the purchasing technician at the campus level, or is the regional procurement specialty, will convert it to a PO once all the release strategy here already processed. Okay, so when you click on it, you will see no message issue during the check, which is you are good to go, and click the save button. However, if you get the red button and saying something error, you will have to find out what's the error and resolve it before you can save it. However, we have a function that you don't have to come back and recreate every single thing for the same thing. Let's say if you have a budget error and then you want to deal with the budget maybe 1 day or 2 days. However, if you go out without put it on hold or save it, it's gonna be gone and you have to come back and enter everything again. However, SAP have a function that you put it on hold or you can park it, then this and note it down the PR number. Then next time when you come, you just call out that same PR and you can make the change if the GL account or if the cost center is not valid for that time. You can always come back and make the change instead of have to create a new PR for the same thing again and again. All right.
Okay, can I interrupt you and ask a question real quick?
Yes.
There's
please.
two.
Mhm.
Danny Tellis has a question regarding, can you explain what a tangible item is and when it should be used?
Okay, tangible item, which is we are buying like all the thing that is the supply or
supplies.
everything, office supply, computer or anything, or your desk or anything that you can touch it and it is have a good receipt. So intangible means sometimes you go out and get the request for services or request for something that is you will not be receiving and you cannot really hold on to it.
Like a training, say, for instance.
Yes. So let's say if this training, you need to request it because you need to pay us. Just an example, okay?
Yes.
So let's say we are the external outside vendor and you say, okay, let's set up a training, but this company have to pay us, right? So
Right.
that is intangible. So that will be created as an RFC, which is the next item we're gonna discuss. So this is tangible. We will be created as a normal purchasing requisition. You see this document type is set purchase requisition. So if for the intangible and for the services, the doc type will be different. It will call request for contract. Okay, so that will be a different type. All right, so can we go on?
One more. Well, actually two, but what is the time frame for the PR, purchase requisition, to be converted to the PO, which is the real legal document, the purchase order?
It depends. It depends on the release strategy, the owner of those released like approval of your group. So
Yeah.
let's say if you create it, and we always have the email send it out to the release the first approval. When the
Yes.
first approval release it or approve it, the email will send it to the second one, and then the third one, and so on. Sometimes you have more than 3 level, and sometimes it's only have 2 level. It depends on the need of the approval of each group. Okay, so
Got it.
so we cannot say how long and how short of the time frame, but let's say if the approval is always on how you call it, he or she always come and check his email or approve it right away, then the document will go very smoothly. It probably maybe the next day is already converted to a PO or converted to a contract. And I think the contract will take a little bit longer. It depends on the dollar amount.
True.
Some of the IFC had to go to the board approval, and if the board approval time is not, for example, if today the board meeting is just passed, then you have to wait for the next month. So it might be take longer. So it depends on the situation.
Okay, and then explain this purchasing group needed to obtain a valid release when converting to a PO. So you mentioned something about a purchasing group had to be valid.
Yes, the purchasing group had to valid when we go to the SAP GUI. I'll drop down. I'll use the drop down and show you all the valid purchasing group. Then
Right.
yeah, okay. So let's move on. So
Thank you.
last slide we talk about we need a check, right? So when we check and no error, we click on the save button, and then it'll give us the document number. This document number, same thing like I just mentioned. If we put it on hold, or if we put it park, this message will telling you that this number, PR number, and is parked or on hold or created. So this one, because we already have no message, no error, no nothing is good. When we click on save, it telling us is already created. So we can note it down somewhere, and you can come back and check if there's already released. When it's already released, you'll see those have a check mark instead of a yellow triangle. Okay, all right. So
Is
let's
there a
move.
way? Is there a way to find our PR number if we forget to note it down? I've learned to
Yes, you
do that the
can.
hard way.
Yes, you can. We can always find it. When we have extra time at the end, I'll show you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are talking about IFC. Remember, when we talk about IFC, we already tell the difference of a purchase, a requisition, and a request for contract. So request for contract is simply for services, and then you'll see the difference of the material group is there was many of different one. So we just pick up as a professional service or general, whatever the purpose that you are creating this. But for today, I'll show you with the one cost, one line, one service. Let's say this is a service, one service, but it paid by 2 different cost center or 2 different department, I would say. So you can see the beauty of SAP that you can use many different cost center to pay for one item or one service. Okay, so this is the same thing. You need to have the account assignment, category, the short tag, the dollar amount, etc., and then the cost object here down in the detail level. And then same thing, you're gonna say here is the second line saying that we're gonna do a different WBS, and you can also combine a cost center or specially funded program, or maybe some assets. We're gonna show you on the advanced class, some assets within the same document. So it's not necessary you only like create one document for just cost center, or one document just for the special funding program, or just one for assets. You can combine all the things that into one document, as long as it follow into the same category, like the same service to the same vendor, and you can do it within one document. All right, any question? Okay, so that is for the purchasing requisition level. So now I'm gonna hand over to Sanjay and talk about the PO level. Sanjay, take over, please.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Let me try to get the control of the presentation. Hold on.
While you're doing that, Sanjay, there's a question here for Sharon here. How or where can one find the purchasing group for a specific unit? Now, I know I have 3 different purchasing budgets, but the purchasing group, could you explain that?
Okay, so a purchasing group is represent your department. So let's say usually your dean or your let's say in the campus we have dean and we have VP. Usually each dean will have their own group. So when you work under a dean, he or she should tell you what the purchase group he having, and then the budget code, like for example his cost center or his WBS, that he is the owner. Okay. So for district, the same thing, like Katrina, because you are so special, you're working for so different different department or different units. So let's say that they might have a we call subunit. Let's say you have one department, but your department is really big. Then you will have subunit of A, B, and C, and you are the, let's say you are the secretary or executive secretary or whatever, that the one person take care of the budget, take care of the purchasing, and take care of all the service creation. Then you will be the one that having 3 or 4 purchasing group under your roles. Then each time when you want to do a document, just want to make sure, ask the requester, provide the correct purchasing group and the cost center or WBS. Otherwise, you will get an error of either no release strategy or budget existed, or you have no authorization to do it.
Okay.
You remember sometimes you get the no authorization? Yes, that's the case. Because each group had their own budget and their own funding resource. That's how you won't use over to the other group or other departments fund. Okay.
Okay, Michelle would like to know, can we pay for something with both WBS and 10100 at the same time on one document?
Yes, but cannot be on one line. You can do it in one document. Like for example, on this screen you will see for the cost center is it the fund 100. For the WBS, it will be a special refund. The program it probably will be other fund, any fund other than fund 100, but it cannot be combined because the account assignment category giving you different screen, because you can see the screen here in the detail, you don't see the cost center column, right? So you cannot enter the cost center right there. So yes, you can do it within one document, but not the same line.
Is there like a ZPO list for the purchase or purchasing groups that someone can use to find this kind of thing, or even for the PRs? So attached to a specific.
The ZP list, the ZPO list, I think is the report to get the PO list, but not the document, the purchasing group. Yes, So in the purchasing group, you can always find it when you create some document and you finding for the document purchasing group, it will be a list under it. However, like I mentioned, if you use the wrong one, you're not gonna go anywhere and you will get error and you will get the authorization error is the first thing you'll get because you use the wrong one.
Okay, so PRs, you can get a list on the ZPO list,
Yes.
correct?
I
But
think it is, but we can try it at the end because
sure,
if we have some time, we can always answer your question. All right,
perfect. Okay,
let's
Sanjay,
Okay.
sorry, we took some of your time. Go
Yeah,
for it.
that's fine. Now, let me recap what Sharon has already explained, and then we can go and focus on a purchase order. Sharon has covered the area where you create an internal document. Purchase requisition or RFC is the internal LACCD document. Where this document will never leave our district and it will never go to the vendor. But the one we are going to cover right now, which is a purchase order, which is the official legal document which will go to the vendor. And on the basis of that document, the vendor is going to supply you goods, whatever services we requested, and we'll get those. So this is the last document which leaves the gates of LACCD and goes to the vendor. But there is a restriction on creating a purchase order in LACCD. They have their policies and procedures where they say that you can't directly create a purchase order which is more than $5,000. Anything less than $5,000, you can directly go and create it in the system. But if anything goes beyond 5,000, you have to go back, create the internal document called a purchase requisition or request for contract for all contracts, and then that will get converted to purchase order, and then the procurement specialist or whoever the person at the district office procurement department, they will convert that to a legal document and send it to the vendor. So in this presentation, I'm going to cover the area where you can directly go and create a purchase order, but it should be less than $5,000. Then there are two types where you have a tangible items, what Sharon earlier explained, where you can use a purchase order, but something like an intangible asset, like a short-term agreement, we call it as a STA. Typically, it's STA, the famous acronym for short-term agreement. Short-term agreement is which is any contract or any agreement which is less than 365 days is a short-term agreement. To do that, there is a transaction code called ME21N. Now there are, if you go to the beginners class, we will share you how you can access ME21 different ways. But this is the easiest way. You can just type it, or you can add it to your favorites, ME21N. Here, see, wherever you see the areas are identified, these things you have to enter it. Like first and foremost, a vendor, the document date, which day you want to create. As soon as you go to the document, this date will default to your current date. Whatever today's date is, it is going to default. Then it goes to a purchasing group here, which is account assignment, whether it will decide whether you are going to do it purchases for cost center or special funded program or assets. Then give a description, quantity, price, material group, and plant. As soon as you go that, and when you go to the line level, here you have to enter the cost center, GL account, requester, and phone number. Let me go back again with all these options. In this screen, there are 4 fields are very critical for you to make sure you will have a right release strategy. First and foremost, standard, which is the document number, whether it's a PO or a STA. If you click on this drop-down list, you will see a lot of different things, including IT-related purchases. But this is the one which is an important document. Then account assignment. You decide which account assignment you want to go do that, which is a cost center or a special funded program or asset. Then also, if you go further on right-hand side, you see a material group and plant. If you pick up the incorrect material group or plant, it will not go anywhere. The last but not least is cost center and GL accounts. So these are the key fields you need to enter. Plus, you at the header level, you created a purchasing group. So combination of document type, purchasing group, material group, and a plant will decide whether it should go to the right person or not. Any incorrect combination of these, it is going to create an issue for creating a purchase order. Now, Since this is the intermediate class, we are not going to explain you the basic thing. See, earlier Shannon mentioned you can do multiple purchases in one purchase order document. See, the line 1 is a cost center. I have to mention the cost center itself, but line 2 I can put for special funded program. If I have to do both the purchases, I can do it in one. Till that time, it is less than $5,000. Again, you put a account assignment S, C, A, whatever is relevant for you. Put the rest of the information and move on. Press enter, you go further. As soon as if you click on this scale at the top, it will show your release strategy, whether it goes to a right person. And since if you do the calculation, roughly 150, maybe around 1,500 and 1,500, 3,000 plus tax is around $3,300, which is less than 5,000. It will allow you to create a purchase order with a right release strategy. And said no message issued during the check. You go next level, you get the PO number at the bottom. Now here interesting part is, let's say you get out of this screen and you want to see it's the same purchase order. Either you can write down this name or go to the transaction code ME23N. As soon as you click on the transaction, enter, the last purchase order you created, it will default it. So, or you can just go and look for other document and it will show you the purchase order you can look for. Now, the next part is the entering short-term agreement, which is a STA, which I mentioned earlier. Any contracts or any agreements which is less than 365 days, typically we use this transaction code. See here, I pick up the different document type, short-term agreement document number. Can go with this vendor number, purchasing group, where I'm going to purchase it, text. See, all the information is correct, but in addition to that, there is a one more field you need to enter. I need to mention what is my valid start date and valid end date, because this is a short-term agreement. This is not a purchase order, which is a contract related, so which is less than 365 days. So it has to mention from which day it is going to start and which day it's going to end. And it has to happen, it has to be less than 365 days. Can you just go check everything is okay? Again, click on scale. It will go no message issued during the check. And you get the release strategy. That's it. This is the way you create a STA. Now, these are the two things we explain: purchase requisition, purchase order. We just put it as a list of item where you can go and look for what means by each information. Then this is our contact information if you have any questions, concerns. Now it will be a good time to answer any of your questions. I know you guys will have a lot of questions, so go ahead.
So here's one. Do STAs need to be converted to a contract like an RFC?
No.
Okay. Do the approvers get reminder emails after they haven't approved the item? I know about that one, Neely.
That's a really good suggestion. I wish we can incorporate this, but we will definitely take a note on it. But at this point, the system doesn't send you a reminder, but it does send you an email as soon as you submit.
An initial email, yes.
Initial email.
Yeah. And once each level releases it, it sends the next person an email. And what I do is I send them another email to let them know that they received the release.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, one thing about the email, it contains pertinent information, and the other thing is if you know the transaction codes and you sign in, you will see those requests in that dashboard. So they don't disappear. They actually sit there. If you sign on and use that approval transaction code and you're using the mass approval one, you will see them all sitting there for you. So even though you didn't remember, if you remember the transaction code and you saved it as part of your favorites and you click on it and you're looking up that release code, they would all be there for you. It also sits inside the inbox of your SAP screen as well, not only just the Outlook, but you'll see it in the other feature as well.
There an area to search all purchase requisitions by vendor? Isn't there a report of some sort? And if so, what is the transaction code for that?
Yeah, Sharon there is some reports that we run. Sharon can show those, or when she signs on, and show you those reports.
Okay, and then what is the code they should use to see what is waiting for them to release? I think that's another.
We have that report.
Yeah, she can show it to you.
Okay, so let's go to the SAP side. All right, so this is SAP. So when you log on SAP, you usually will get
Hey,
your
Sharon, I think Ruben has a question. His hand is up. He wants to talk, or Ruben?
okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. So in regards to the release strategy, if one of the approving parties is on vacation or just out, is there a time frame where that it just automatically gets bumped up to the next approving party, or is it just stay there? What happens in that case?
Ruben,
Uh-huh.
if the approver know that he or she will go on leave for certain time, let's say if it's more than, because if a document can wait for a week or two, that's fine. But if not, the approver need to send us a notice and approved by the VP saying
Mhm.
that this person will need a what you call it, a backup. We call a backup approver to do the approval for a certain time. Let's say if this approver need to leave for 1 month, tell us exactly what day to what day that is need to be the substitute for this the approval. So then when we set up in the system, whenever you have a PR or PO that is waiting for this person to approve, it will route it to the new person, and then the new person will do it. So when the time that let's say we said at the end of March, if at the end of March in the approval still cannot be coming back, you can always send us a note or send us an email saying that, oh, we need this one to be extended to another whatever the day. Let us know, and we're gonna set up again. The system will not automatically push to any automatic approval or something. It will not, because all the document had to be reviewed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the other thing, some people have groups set up. So if they do have a group because they anticipated they would have some of these absences like this, the emails will go out to the people in the group, and usually the primary person has informed the other people that they're not going to be there, and the other people of the group have authority to go in and use that release code and approve on their behalf. Some people
Okay.
do have that, not as much as in the past, but that is something that
An
is set
option.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
There's a question.
Mm-hmm. Go
There's
ahead.
another question, but it's not related to this. So finish what your statement was, and then I'll
Okay.
ask it.
All right. All right. No, yes, most of the release purchasing group will have, I mean, the approver will have at least one backup for him or for her. So just in case, like Andy said, let's say Andy is a primary, and then Andy need to go on vacation for a month. Of course, all our purchasing document cannot be waiting for a month, especially we always have those IT services. We need it immediately, right? So
Mhm.
Andy
Right.
will set either one of his list. So he will set either a Sanjay or other list as a backup. But backup people will not do anything if Andy is here. So Andy will say, hey, guys, I will be on vacation. If anything come up, you will do it on behalf, on my leave, whatever. So the primary approval had to send a signal. If not, the backup will not do anything. All right.
Got
Okay.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So how does one duplicate a PO and or a PR in SAP?
Duplication will not create it automatically. So duplication sometimes is by the initiator. It maybe created already, but he or she forgot, and then she created another one. But the purchasing document number will not be the same, and it will not happen to. It will not happen to when you converted a PR to a PO, because once a PR converted to a PO is done, you cannot convert it again. So duplication from a converted PO is not gonna happen.
So a couple of
Okay.
things with that. There are other options. If you mean by can I reuse a PO, about 2 years ago, we've talked about in our training sessions, you can save it as a template, and you can make that template has a private template or a public template for others to use. And once you do it, you can re-reference that PO, change the dates and whatever else you need to change, and resave it as a new PO.
Okay.
And I've done that with my team, some of our long line items where I don't want to type it in over and over again. It's basically just a yearly type of PO that I do. I've have templates, I've saved it. We reload the template, change the date, look at the wording, and release it as a new requisition or a new purchase order. Sharon will show you that. You actually saw it on her screen. If you haven't used it, when people call me, I suggest they do if that's what they're referring to. It's very easy to use, has a lot of functionality, and it solves the issue of, do I have to keep typing this stuff over and over again when it's basically the same?
Okay. So are we good now? Let's go to the
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So in on the screen here, you can see I save a lot of favorite because I using it almost every day. So I will create a favorite here, or I can just type it on the that field here, the open field here. If you know the transaction code. So ME51N is the PR creation, and ME21N is the PO creation. So anything ending with a 1 is create, and 2 is the change, and 3 is the display. So ME51N is create, ME52N is change, and ME53N is to view or to display a PR. Okay, let's begin with the 51N. So when I hit enter, the creation will be the PR create purchasing requisition will appear.
It's basically just a yearly type of PO that I do. I've have templates, I've saved it. We reload the template, change the date, look at the wording, and release it as a new requisition or a new purchase order. Sharon will show you that. You actually saw it on her screen. If you haven't used it, when people call me, I suggest they do if that's what they're referring to. It's very easy to use, has a lot of functionality, and it solves the issue of, do I have to keep typing this stuff over and over again when it's basically the same?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we good now? Let's go to the
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So on the screen here, you can see I save a lot of favorite because I using it almost every day. So I will create a favorite here, or I can just type it on the that field here, the open field here. If you know the transaction code. So ME51N is the PR creation, and ME21N is the PO creation. So anything ending with a 1 is create, and 2 is the change, and 3 is the display. So ME51N is create, ME52N is change, and ME53N is to view or to display a PR. Okay, let's begin with the 51N. So when I hit enter, the creation will be the PR create purchasing requisition will appear. So like Andy said, we can have a template. Let's say I already have something there, and I can load it any here. So let's say we have services always renew every year. I can create here, and I just load it. I can put it as a public and private. Since the public checkbox I didn't check, so this is all private to me only. I'm the only one created, and I'm the only one using it, and no one else can use it unless I create as a public. So I can, let's say I create it, and then I wanted Katrina to use it. I will say, hey Katrina, go to ME51, and you can load the template I create for you, and you can just change whatever necessary that for fit your need. That
That's good.
is a public. But if the one that I show you, a list that I have is all non-public, it's all private. So it's only for me to use, right? So that's Andy mentioned you can create as a public template or can a private template. Or let's say you don't have any template, and you can enter whatever the long list. Let's say you have the Office Depot that you always buy those same thing over and over again. You can create it here and say save as template. Okay, so let's do something here. The account assignment category, we have so many things here. We have asset, we have cost center, and other thing that we don't use it, don't ever try it because it's not authorized for your role. You only use whatever your initiator tell you to do. Like for example, the magnet and the leases and other thing is for facility use only, especially project, public work project is only facility use only. So the most thing that we always use for normal purchasing is the asset, the cost center, and the special funding program. So let's do the cost center. Item for cost center. Okay, so quantity of 10. Unit, the unit here, the unit of measure here, you can usually we use each because a lot of time anything is like one each for the normal purchasing. But if the purchase that you buy it from office supplies, it could be a box, it could be a pack, or it could be a case. You can always use the drop down and use pick the one that applicable to you. So and then the price here, I'm gonna do 500 because it's gonna be over 5,000, right? So deliver day usually not the same day because the PR will go further down, maybe at least a couple of days. I will use a week later. So a week later would be 11. You cannot use other like me. I can enter it. You can only use it in SAP. For Excel, for other thing, you'll get an error, right? But for SAP, because I want it to be fast, I don't have to type the slash. But when I enter it, it will give me the date format that's set up in the system already. So let's say the plan here, always pick the one that applicable to you, but don't use anything for the B. The B is for construction for the bill LACCD, which is another unit that take care of our construction for LACCD. So we don't use this one, and the plan is the first initial represent from your college. So let's say city will be a C, district will be a D, and Vandicam will be the DVK. So and so on. So let's say I'm doing the city. So I'm pick up the C and material group. I'm buying something. So I'm using material group of 01 and the fixed vendor. Let's say we can use remember here for the fixed vendor for the purchasing is always start with a 1. Don't use 3 or 5. Those are different area to you. 3 is for account payable and 5 is for those the other kind of vendor. Okay, so let's say if I'm going to buy something from
We're
Office
approaching
Depot.
on the last 3 to 4 minutes, just to let you know.
Yes. Okay. And then here I select the cost center. It derived from the cost center and a single account assignment. But for today's purpose, we try to show you more than one account assignment, right? Okay, I'm just pick up whatever. Okay, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because it always default to a single assignment, I wanted to make more than one. So
Yeah,
let's say
quantity.
I have quantity of 10.
So we are talking about the purchase requisition, right? So NE 51N. See here, as we mentioned here, if you click on drop down list, you have a purchase requisition, request for contract, and IT related purchase. So I'll just go quickly here. Plant is, let's say D.
Answer to your question. Answer is yes. The templates that you create for RCIPOs, they're specific to whatever you create the template with. So they're strictly, you create the template. A lot of times I've done it. I created the purchase order and I finish it, and then I take it and I say, I want to save that purchase order as a template because I want to reuse it next year or next month. And it's basically pretty easy to use. You just go in and you change the dates. You make sure everything didn't change. The vendor stuff is the same. Change the dates of the thing and change the wording to fit the new agreement, and you say save as a PO and it picks it up and runs it through again. It's really good if you have a lot of line items and a complex PO and you just want to reuse it without having to spend the time to retype everything over again.
Yeah.
What about the transaction codes? Do you have a list somewhere where they're documented of the various transaction codes?
I do. I'll include it. I have it part of my beginning presentation. When I send you this one, Katrina, I'll take it out of that one and send it over to you to do it with this one.
Perfect, perfect.
So here, let me continue. Here, I'm going to split on the basis of quantity. So I just put a quantity here, this one. And instead of 100 quantity, I'll just put maybe a 60 quantity here. And I'll go to second level, 40 quantity. Here, I'm going to put maybe a different fund center. I'm going to split between two IT cost centers. And it will ask me what is my purchasing group. So I'm going to pick up a purchasing group, which is Andy as an approving manager. So
DI5.
DI5, and I press enter. If you click, so now you want to know whether everything is right or not, click on this scale. And yeah, it default to SAP manager, goes to CIO, and then it goes to purchasing agent. I click on a save. As soon as I click on a save in a production environment, it will trigger an email to send it to Andy. And Andy will get a link. He click on the link. When link will open, it will say which transaction code you can use it and execute that. He will go approve. After his approval, that immediately trigger an email, send it to our CIO. She will go review and approve it, and it will go to the procurement specialist.
What is the easiest way to create a large number of assets? Say, for instance, 50. Is there a way to duplicate lines without inputting them one in at a time?
No, because you cannot duplicate another line because the asset will have the memory of creating whatever on your original lines. If you duplicate it, it will carry over whatever from the line 1. Let's say you duplicate from line 1 to line 2. The cost object from the line number 1 will copy into the line number 2. And when you save it, 2 lines will have the same asset number. Therefore, you have to do it one by one.
Thank you, Sharon. So in other words, what I'm doing when, let's say you have 50 assets that you put in on the top part of the purchase requisition, then you come down to the account assignment. What I'm doing is I'm putting item one, two, three, four.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you just got to page down, and so I'm doing it the right way. There's no faster way, in other words.
No, sorry about that. There's no fast way.
That's okay. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Katrina,
And publish it.
One
Yes.
more thing. Earlier, someone asked a question about the report related to purchase order. So
Yes.
let me reiterate this. There's a T code called ZLAC.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
ZLAC, there are different options. You see a lot of reports. So click on a procurement one. And here you say detail, which goes for by release strategy. If you pick up release strategy, it will say who has approved it. You put a, the purchasing group, and it will show you how many purchase orders are in queue, who is approving, at what stage they are. Same goes with the purchase requisition. So this may be a good report for you to track down a purchase order. Then you have if you have any commitment, if you have any questions about the commitment, that may be a different place we can talk about. But if you are having any issues with the commitment, you can look for this. Then here, these are specific report for purchase requisition and purchase orders. The purchase orders by vendor, by material group, or PO number. So maybe it's a good idea to just go and venture out, run this different report and see if that serves your purpose. But this is the place you should go and look for all the reports related to the purchase order.
Okay. Question, are there different versions of SAP? Does each version have all these options that you're showing for the reports, or is it, I think some things are related on how you set up the access to different things in SAP for this, right?
So yeah, in a nutshell, simple answer. We have only one SAP system. You will not go anywhere else. As soon as you log in, that's a place all LACCD people will get into that. Now the question about the access, yes, that will decide what kind of access you all will show you, what kind of screens you can access. Let's say you are a person working on a payroll side, you may not have access to any financial data. But if you are on a procurement and financial person, then you may not have access to the procurement. I'm just a payroll.
Yeah,
So I'm just
okay,
giving
but
a broad
someone's
segregation.
questioning, Sanjay, someone's questioning the look on your screen is different from what they're looking at. And so Jason was saying it could possibly be the desktop version versus the online Outlook version, right?
Yes, absolutely right. There are two ways you can access SAP, but you are going to access the same system. One is using the version you are looking at, which is called a desktop version, and there is a portal version. Why? Because not everyone carries a laptop. Somebody works from home and he wants to access it. That's a better way of accessing the system. Then look at
Ready?
Yes.
What are the different procurement documents?
I know a few.
Yeah, go ahead.
Purchase
ahead.
requisition, PO, short-term agreement, contract, short form contract, FOFs,
Okay.
and that's it.
Very good.
That is a good answer.
Okay. Look at
Purchase
that. Okay.
requisition, request for contract, purchase order, and contract. Okay. So
Yeah.
let us go to the next question. What is a purchase requisition?
To purchase any tangible items under $5,000.
That's
Anybody
a
else?
PO.
Yes.
Over 5,000.
Over.
No.
There we go.
Yes, over 5,000. Mm-hmm.
And it is not a legal document. It is an internal document only.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an internal procurement request. Okay. Can purchase requisition buy items?
Yes, it can.
No,
It-
it has to be
it-
converted to a PO first.
Into a P.
Ah.
It is a trick.
This is good.
That was a trick
Okay.
question.
That is a trick question.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let us go to the next one. What is request for contract?
It's a requested contract to get a contract.
An internal form.
Okay. Let us go to the answer. Okay.
Okay.
Internal service procurement request. Okay.
Okay.
Again, this document also will be coming to you guys. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Will service start upon the request of contract approval?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Hopefully not.
Okay. No, it needs a contract agreement. Okay. Okay. Next. What are the 3 key components for account assignments?
Cost center,
Yes.
purchasing? No.
Purchasing
GL?
group. Yeah.
Quantity? I'll show the answer.
Plant, cost
And?
center,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's purchasing
Facility.
group.
Requester.
Yeah, the requester. Nice. And the phone
Yeah, the
number.
requester.
The material group is what's missing.
Well, it has to be 3.
Material group.
Why does it have to be 3?
Okay. Let us go to that. Fund center,
Fund center.
special funded
That was all
programs,
wrong.
and assets. Okay.
We did not do well on that one.
Nope.
Yeah, we bombed on that. Okay.
Okay. What are the 3 key components to complete successful purchase requisition request for contract?
Money in your contract. In your GL.
Having your director actually approve it.
Yeah.
that's the key one.
Okay. Let us go to the answer. Document type, material group, and purchasing groups.
Okay.
Can I use more than one purchasing group in a PR RFC?
Yes.
No.
No.
I don't think so, because then it won't give you a release strategy.
You are right.
Yes, that's right.
I
No,
bumped on
one
that one.
purchasing group per document. Okay. Can I enter IT and non-IT purchases in the same document?
No.
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 Don't know.
Sure. Okay.
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 Ooh, we all got one right. Yay.
I learned that one the hard way.
Can I change document date on existing purchase order contract?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No, the top date we cannot, but the other dates we can.
Okay. This field is not available for change.
Yes. when when the PO or contract was on hold, you might
You
be
could-
able to change it, but once it's already safe, you cannot change it anymore. Only the delivered date can be changed.
Oh, the delivery date.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Therefore, this is very, very important. I think any of you doing the purchasing document, you know, remember at the end of the year, it's very important that you do the right day. Remember? If you're doing on the, let's say you are in June now, but you wanted to do the next new year, like the new fiscal year
Mhm.
budget,
July.
you need to change it to 7101, whatever the year. But if you forgot to change, and it will observe your current year instead of doing the new year, so you have to like delete this PO or SCA or whatever it is, and then you have to redo it. So it's very
Okay.
important when you are crossing 2 years.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. More question, Chris?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
how to cancel a purchase order?
Call contracts.
Trash all the items, not trash all the item lines.
And save it.
Email someone and apologize.
Actually, you are so good. Go. Yes, that answer is correct. Trash all your